So for this episode, I got to have a play around with the new Buckingham Throttle. Took it to work, tried it in a moving rope and stationary rope configuration. And this video is not going to be a product review because I know the guy who designed it and I know some of the dudes over there, so that would be biased. But instead, I'm going to talk about some of the subtleties I noticed and some of the functional features, and then near the end I'll talk about some other stuff I wanted to wrap about. So here I am just putting the device on and off the rope. You can see it's pretty easy to go on and off. Buckingham itself put out a bunch of videos about this with a better view and explaining the subtleties of putting it on and off, so go ahead and watch those. You should always watch those when the manufacturer puts out stuff, and you should always read the little piece of paperwork that comes with it too. And notice when I'm pushing down on the device, I'm using more of my pinkies, and I'm sort of modulating with my pointer and thumb just to kind of keep track of the rope. But you'll notice the top part of that device is pretty large, so there's a lot of leverage to it if you start pushing towards the end of it. I think I saw some people at trade show trying to do this thing, and they're pushing down on the top right at the rope. And if you're doing that, you don't have that ease of leverage to help really engage the device smoothly. You're using too much arm strength, and really it just takes a little bit of pushing down with your pinky to get it to engage. Another thing I noticed is if you go to pull slack from the top of the device the way you'd pull out of like a rope runner or something like that, and you just push it, you run into a lot of friction because it's not lined up. So if you finger the little cam there, that makes it a little easier, but if you compress the whole device and have it more in line with the rope, it pulls out easy. Now this next thing I noticed you're going to have trouble seeing in video, but if you push down and you start to engage the spring, it'll start to slide. If you push hard, you'll compress the entire spring and it'll go fast. But if you push down hard and engage the entire spring and then let up, you'll still be in a slightly engaged configuration. So in theory, you can start bombing out hard, let up a little, and still go into like a smooth descent. And if you take the time to really play around with that, you can really dial it in and make it work for you. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is, expectation of, I think, of the market and consumerism surrounded some of the devices and tools and whatnot. I mean, no tool is magical. It's either going to jive with you, or you're going to have to adjust the way you do things to get it to work for you. And I would first start with what is it that does work for you, and what's your climbing style, and what is it that you're hoping something new is going to solve for you. And if there's nothing in particular you need to solve, you just want to try something new, that's cool. But if you're wanting something to make life easy in one way or another, it's like the features might have that, but you might also have to change the way you do things. Most of these devices will work on a lot of ropes, but at the same time, even hitches and knots don't work on every rope. When I was more of a hitch-based climber, I was constantly trying to find which cordage worked with what rope better and what not worked with what cordage and what rope. So there was still a whole lot of like trying to get things to work together nicely. And then there's rope construction. Some ropes flatten, some ropes stay really round, some ropes have a really tough jacket, some ropes have a really smooth jacket, and some ropes change over time. So anytime that you go to a mechanical, you're either going to have to adjust the way you do things or try to get that mechanical to adjust to you, or a combination of both. So it does take some patience, and it takes some messing around with stuff. And I understand, things cost money, and you want it to be awesome right away, but there's a break in time, and there's a lot of fiddling around. So you got to be open-minded and adaptable, and if you're going to buy the ticket, you got to be willing to take the ride.